Welcome to A Perfect Touch. I'm Jeanette, and welcome to 2025. 2024 was the 12th year of the Historical Sew Monthly. I started my journey with that creative group in 2014, and while I couldn't participate fully in the years I traveled extensively for work, I did participate in 2024, completing all 12 of the challenges. Sharing the HSM challenges with you is a great summary of my costuming creations for 2024. January, just peachy. Peach fuzz is the Pantone color for 2024. Make something in peach or in the related colors of pink or orange. What the item is: casual topper. How it fits the challenge. The topper was sewn to complement a casual pajamas with jacket. The color is a bright, very bright orange. Material: faux taffeta. Pattern: Wearing History E3012 Sporty Toppers, 1930s hats. Year: 1930s. Notions: thread and button blanks. How historically accurate is it? The pattern is from the Rest Revival line of vintage pattern recreations. First worn: quiet evening at a 1930s retreat. Total cost: scraps from the Pajamas Project and 37 cents for the button blanks. February, Seasons of Fashion. Make something designed for a specific season, whether that be a meteorological season, example winter or summer, or the dry, rainy season, or a cultural season, example, Carnival, the London social season. What the item is: holiday jacket and skirt. How it fits the challenge. The 2024 holiday season is the 5th year I will have created a vintage or historical, wearable-sized garment inspired by a Hallmark special edition Barbie doll. This is my interpretation of Yuletide Romance Barbie. Material: moire damask, silk velvet, and cotton. Pattern: Butterick Making History B4954. Year: 1890s. Notions: soutache, interfacing, thread, button blanks. How historically accurate is it? Appropriate fabrics and design. The pattern reflects the silhouette of the period. First worn: for a holiday day event. Total cost: difficult to determine as the moire damask and silk velvet were a gift, and without this wonderful gift, this project would not have happened. March, Made to Move. Make something designed for movement, such as physical work, sport, or dance. What the item is: dress with tunic. How it fits the challenge. The tiers of the dress are separate, layered, free at their lower edge, and end with loose ties, and are perfect for interest and movement when dancing. Material: Andover Downton Abbey licensed cotton fabrics. Pattern: Decades of Style, number 2044, 1920s Terrific Ensemble. Year: 1920s. Notions: satin bias binding and thread. How historically accurate is it? Sewn from an historically accurate pattern. First worn: July 2024, teaching a class at Costume College. Total cost: $48. April, Colors of Nature. Make something using undyed material or material colored with natural dyes. What the item is: hip pad and bustle. How it fits the challenge. The fabric is a natural and unbleached muslin. Material: muslin. Pattern: Virgil's Fine Goods Scotty ventilated hip pad and bustle. Year: 1900 to 1905. Notions: thread, grommets, embroidery thread, twill tape, polyfill. How historically accurate is it? The pattern is an historical replica of an extant garment. The fabric and construction are accurate. The polyfill is modern and probably would have been wool in the era. First worn: Made for an Edwardian garment scheduled for 2025. Total cost, $11, including the PDF pattern. May. New clothes from old. Make something new out of a worn-out garment or accessory, or make something using recycled materials. What the item is. Lace vest. How it fits the challenge. The vest uses offcuts of fabric and trims unused in previous projects. Material, cotton, and beaded embroidered net. Pattern, Wearing History AC 117, 1908 lace vest. Year, 1908, but worn as an earlier Victorian impression. Notions, thread, buttons, snaps. How historically accurate is it? The pattern is remastered from an original in Le Mode Illustré. The closure is used for convenience and not accurate. First worn, trip to Tombstone, Arizona. Total cost, all fabric and trim used are left over from previous projects, $5 for the pattern. June, up your sleeve. Level up your sleeve game by making a garment where the focus is on the sleeves. What the item is. Pajamas with jacket. How it fits the challenge. The pattern illustration for this garment was so colorful, and I wanted to create it with exactly each color. The bolero bell sleeve has an upper and lower in separate colors, which is such a great design detail. Material, cotton, faux taffeta, lining. Pattern, Revival Designed, number 6581, pajamas with jacket. Year, 1930. Notions, button blanks, and thread. How historically accurate is it? A vintage pattern, and each of the 3 pieces fully lined for draping. First worn, a quiet evening at a 1930s retreat. Total cost, including pattern, $87. July, always in style. Make a garment or accessory that is appropriate for more than one historical period, or even a historical piece that can be worn with modern clothing. Note that the piece should still be historical, not just historically inspired. What the item is. Cloche hat. How it fits the challenge. A fashion icon of the 1920s, the cloche is a hat style from the heyday of hat wearing. A 1908 invention by the French milliner Caroline Rebaud, cloche is French for bell, which defines the close-to-the-head shape. With many options for brim shapes and embellishment, the cloche remained popular through the 1920s and 1930s. It fell out of style in the 1940s and 50s, with a resurgence in the 1960s. Again popular in the 1980s, it has remained a much-loved style, even showing in the 2008 Dior collection of cloche-inspired hats. Materials, Andover Downton Abbey licensed cotton fabrics. The main fabric is called Lady Sybil. Pattern, Vivienne by L. Swen on Etsy. Year, 1920s. Notions, interfacing thread, satin bias binding, cloisonné button. How historically accurate is it? The brim detail is perfectly true to an offering in a 1930s Sears catalog. First worn, July 2024, teaching a class at Costume College. Total cost, $17. August, stripes and dots. Make something using striped or dotted material. The stripes or dots can be printed on the material, knitted, woven into the material, or created with surface embellishment, example embroidery. Textural stripes or dots, i.e. those that are the same color as the base fabric, are permitted. What the item is. Striped hat. How it fits the challenge. The striped fabric is all cut on the bias for all brim pieces and trims, and the crown to create twists and visual interest. Material, cotton. Pattern, Vogue Accessories vintage hats of the 1930s and 1940s. Year, 1930s. Notions, buckram, thread, satin ribbon, elastic, button. How historically accurate is it? Historically accurate based on the research shared on my blog post for this make. First worn, World War II commemorative event, July 2024, where I was very old-fashioned in my 1930s dress and hat. Total cost, $27. September, new stitch in town. Make something that uses a new-to-you stitch. It could be pad stitching a waistcoat, using a mantua maker seam on a gown, trying a new knitting crochet stitch pattern, experimenting with your first embroidery. Challenge yourself and learn something new. What the item is: Victorian-era reticule. How it fits the challenge. Soutache was a popular embellishment in the Victorian period, and because of the nap of the velvet, hand stitching was necessary and a technique that I had to teach myself to create this piece. Material: silk, velvet, and brocade. Pattern: Vintage Pattern Lending Library number 14794, beaded handbag. Year: 1912 pattern, but appropriate for multiple decades of fashion use. Notions: soutache, interfacing, thread, tassels. How historically accurate is it? The style spans many eras and the embellishment is period appropriate. First worn, sewn for a holiday day gown. Total cost: the fabric was gifted, the soutache a small portion of what was acquired for the coordinating suit, but the tassels and pattern were purchased. If all purchased, I would estimate $75. October, UFO spotter. We all have an unfinished object or 2 or 10. Now's the time to complete one of your unfinished historical costuming projects. What the item is: spectator coat and turban. How it fits the challenge. This was a 2023 project made for a winter historic-themed train ride. My companion for the event had to cancel, and so I canceled the train ride tickets, the tea, the overnight in an historic hotel, and lost my inspiration to finish the collar and buttons for my coat. It hung on the UFO rack until this challenge inspired me to finish. Material: rayon velvet, cotton. Pattern: Folkwear 262. Year: 1925. Notions: interfacing, thread, button blanks, vintage feathers. How historically accurate is it? Very accurate from period illustrations I've seen. First worn, not yet, but I should find another train ride. Total cost, $85. November, worn by all. Make a garment that would be worn as everyday clothing by most social classes during your chosen time period and/or place. What the item is: an apron. How it fits the challenge. There were social classes such as people working in service, the trades, shopkeepers, industry, and farm workers who all wore aprons daily to protect their clothing. This apron is made to protect clothing while serving tea. Material: embroidered cotton with lace edging. Pattern: Butterick Making History B6229. Year: 1890s Victorian era. Notions: thread, lightweight interfacing. How historically accurate is it? A very simple construction of 3 panels with waistband and tie ends. The woven interfacing may have been another layer of heavier cotton. First worn, serving a Victorian tea to family. Total cost, $27. December, that's a wrap. Make an accessory or garment that is worn by wrapping it around the body. What the item is: Regency Spencer. How it fits the challenge. The Spencer is designed to wrap to close or may be worn open. Material: silk and cotton. Pattern: Laughing Moon number 129, ladies wrapping front Spencer. Year: 1798 to 1809. Notions: cord for neckline edge, button blanks for embroidered buttons, thread. How historically accurate is it? The sleeve lining silk and pattern are historically accurate, but the red silk for the exterior is a slubbed silk and not accurate. First worn, February 2024, Jane Austen Festival in Mount Dora, Florida, USA. Total cost, $32. A small project with a huge transformation to the white gown, and it pairs beautifully with this Empire Shawls creation. Other 2024 projects. The 1940s Hawaiian Tiki Playset. In January, I had applied to teach at Costume College in Los Angeles, California in July. One of the costume events was the Vintage Tropical Tea. The Sunday tea event is always a favorite of mine. My roommate for Costume College sent me the most wonderful fabric from her stash, and it was perfect for a 1940s Hawaiian Tiki playset, sewn from a butterick pattern from Patterns by Gandhi. Combined with a turban pattern, I made and then wore the shorts and bustier with the sarong and bolero and had a very fun time. I've taught ribbon flowers classes at Costume College twice before and added new ribbon flowers to the class in 2024. All supplies and instructions were provided for the students, and I created public video tutorials for the YouTube platform. There wasn't time to include the daffodil in the 2024 flowers, but it's still on my list for a future video tutorial. I love miniatures and have wanted to create a book nook for quite a while. In 2024, I included it in my spooky season October makes, and it was a sanity saver during Hurricane Helene. I included a miniature of Tasha Puppy wearing her bat wings. Where did I go in 2024? February, the Mount Dora Jane Austen Fest in Mount Dora, Florida. The Jane Austen Fest in Mount Dora was a fabulous event. The Lakeside Inn is beautiful, the town an historic gem, and the weather was perfect. June, World War II commemorative event and swing dance, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Although Patrick had officially retired from costuming, he couldn't resist attending this event in Fayetteville, North Carolina. We sourced vintage military wear to replicate the insignia and badges worn by his father, and he wore his father's ribbons from that war. It was a truly special and memorable weekend. July, a summer adventure. Denver, Colorado, Catalina Island, California, Los Angeles, California, Tombstone, and Phoenix, Arizona. I was thrilled that Costume College had accepted my offer to teach, and that started a plan that would span 2 glorious weeks in July. A flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Denver, Colorado, where a friend and I visited the Molly Brown House and had afternoon tea at the Brown Palace. Then we flew to Long Beach, California, where we ferried to Catalina Island and joined friends for a 3-night stay at Mount Ada, previously the summer home of the Wrigley family. Back to Long Beach and on to Costume College with a visit to a tea house in Pasadena and a tour of the Wrigley family home, which is now headquarters for the Rose Parade. After Costume College, my roommate drove us from Los Angeles to Phoenix, Arizona, onto an incredible visit of Tombstone, then back to Phoenix, where we toured and ate at another, you guessed it, Wrigley family home. A very special tour at the Phoenix airport before I flew back to Charlotte, North Carolina, and home to my tiny farmhouse. Costume College has been an incredible resource for me to learn costuming techniques and provides an opportunity to meet other costumers and enjoy social events with them. Online classes are another incredible resource, and in 2024, I took 3. Edwardian wireframe hat. This class was offered in January as a Costume On masterclass with organizer and instructor Chantal Filson. The finished piece will be part of a 1910s costume in 2025. Pleater Board Workshop, also offered in January by Costume On and taught by Catherine Scholar. Now I can make a board for any size and style of pleat I need. Ribbon Work Workshop Series, presented by Costumers Guild West, open to the public, and taught by Mella Hoyt-Hayden. This was a 3-day series in April, May, and June. The 3 technique-packed workshops included vintage ribbon work and trim, floribunda, and a bow is never just a bow. While creating, attending events, and learning are a large part of my costuming hobby, I have to include the work and time commitment I make to my Dress Diaries. I published my first post for my blog, The Perfect Touch, on February 15, 2009. This post you are reading or listening to will be the 181st of that blog. I started an audiovisual channel on the YouTube platform in 2008 to hold clips that I would insert into my blog posts. But during the World Health Crisis in 2020, I decided to duplicate my full blog post, Dress Diaries, on that platform in audiovisual format. Not pure video, but a format where someone could sit in a comfy chair with a cup of tea and have the photos roll across the screen while I told them about the project. There would be some added video for final reveals. That platform is A Perfect Touch, only because The Perfect Touch was not available in 2008 when I started the channel. I posted my first full dress diary on YouTube in August of 2020. I create and publish each one by myself, and each one takes a tremendous amount of time. So I can't talk about 2024 without including the 12 blog posts that I wrote and the 16 YouTube projects to accompany those blog posts. I'm so happy to provide the Dress Diaries in both formats, and here's the roundup of 2024 YouTube Dress Diaries. While our tiny home and property is exactly right for us and Tasha Puppy, in 2024 it took a huge amount of time and funds. New roof, chimney repair, well pressure tank replacement, clean and reseal all wood decks and stairs, and the inevitable cleanup of large trees. And while professionals are hired where necessary, I'm always amazed when I accomplish a project such as building and painting this new garden shed door. My sweet neighbor did help me hang my masterpiece. And so the sun sets on 2024, a wonderful year for the costuming hobby and the tiny farmhouse. What's the plan for 2025? I'm so thankful my leg injury recovery allowed me to travel between summer 2023 and summer 2024. With all that travel and the farmhouse property expenses during that time, There are no events planned for 2025, which is a perfect time for me to catch up on those Dress Diaries. The 1930s Sporty Topper Review 5, the Victorian Holiday Barbie, the Downton Abbey Tiered Ensemble, the Downton Abbey Cloche, the Scotty Hip Pad and Bustle, the Spectator Coat and Turban, the Regency Wrapping Front Spencer, the 1930s Pajamas with Jacket, the 1940s Hawaiian Tiki Playset. That's 9 projects from 2024. Then there are the makes for the 1930s wardrobe, most of which were made as far back as 2022. There is quite a list of those, but many of the makes I've already shared around social media. There are 16. The Women's Day Amy suit in heather gray and red silk. You've already seen the dress without the jacket, worn to a 2024 World War II event as a French singer in the company of a handsome aviator. The Lady Marlowe blouse in parachute silk. The Lady Marlowe split skirt in coordinating black and red patterned fabrics. Amelia Earhart ankle-length jods in black velvet with embroidered buttons. Wearing History Katharine Hepburn-inspired black velvet trousers. Vogue pattern hat and bag in black velveteen. Vintage pattern Lending Library 1930s ensemble of hat, collar, and bag in red velveteen. Vintage pattern Lending Library day dress with bow in black with white dots rayon. Wearing History Sporty Topper Review 3 in black and white. Wearing History Promenade Deck day dress with cape in amethyst crepe. Vintage pattern Lending Library coat and collar in black and white plaid and black faux fur. Vintage pattern Lending Library evening gown in black velvet and striped organza. Out of a portrait tutorial for an escoffion created with black metallic ribbon and pearls. Depew Patterns evening wrap in red with gold velvet. Wearing History Manhattan evening dress in burgundy satin and silver. And after dancing the night away, 2 pair of comfy slippers patterned by Nicole Rudolph in orange and lavender felt. So where are we now? 25 Dress Diaries to be created and published. One other project finished in 2022 and still waiting on some detail and a dress diary is my recreation of a dress shown often in Tissot paintings. I used McCall's patterns designed by Angela Clayton to create a black and white striped Victorian gown. The organza overlay is studded with faux pearls, and I love the huge bow. I have this pattern for the cape, and it will need a bonnet and a red and black plaid blanket, and then I'll be ready for a photo shoot at the boat landing or in the park. I haven't published a dress diary for the gold 1920s party dress made for the Art Deco weekend on the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California, years ago. And then the 1920s Paris promenade dress, which is made with glow-in-the-dark constellation fabric and worn to the planetarium on the Queen Mary 2 in 2023. But speaking of the Queen Mary 2, I haven't summarized that trip in 2023 where I wore the 1930s wardrobe, nor have I talked about the events that I attended in 2024 in any detail. I would also like to add to my costume flashback series by sharing the organizing and hosting of the Victorian Valentine Weekend near Old Salem Museum and Gardens in Winston-Salem, North Carolina in 2019. Here we socialized, toured, costumed, and I taught millinery, parasol recovering, and fan making. I would love to organize another retreat like that. On August 2nd, 2020, I published my first project on the YouTube platform. It was an 1870s carriage gown in 9 parts, inspired by cupcakes I had recently decorated. There was to be a blouse, skirt, silk flowers from a class offered online by Romantic Recollections, a carriage bodice, beetle wing embroidered reticule on a belt, bonnet, recovered parasol, fan, and a celebration with cookies and tea. Shortly after I started publishing on YouTube, I joined a wonderful online group of costuming YouTube creators nicknamed Costubers. I got very involved with the group, taking part in many collaborations. I met wonderful and very talented creators. I had great experiences sewing many new-to-me projects. 2025 is the year to go back to the beginning, and the 1870s carriage gown project is back in the queue for completion this year. The beauty of historical sewing is it never goes out of style. The third Downton Abbey movie is scheduled for release in 2025. After attending a costume-on lecture, I was inspired to recreate an ensemble from the La Petite Dame de Mode collection. I have a pattern, taupe crepe satin, and lace overlay fabrics. I envision a specialty and movie viewing in this ensemble. Also for a Downton Abbey weekend is this inspiration, 1910s Barbie, Promenade in the Park. The Edwardian wireframe hat was started for this project. I have the fabric, patterns, and most importantly, the perfect shoes. Sometimes the universe offers up a gift, and that happened when I was inspired by this 1883 Harper's Bazaar illustration. It was after the autumn season, and this embroidered linen was slashed in price, with just enough for an overskirt. A pumpkin tee seems appropriate, wouldn't you agree? In keeping with tradition, the 2025 Holiday Barbie has been chosen, and she will be the sixth of these Hallmark Special Edition dolls that I will have recreated in wearable size. This one is Victorian Elegance Barbie. She wears a very plush Victorian ensemble and is boxed with replica Hallmark cards and the cutest skates. I will keep an eye out for the perfect fabrics at the perfect price. Wish me luck. I have a fun surprise for you with this project. That completes the 2024 wrap-up and the plans and dreams for 2025. Wishing you a joyful and peaceful 2025 full of love, laughter, and your favorite tea. Thank you for sharing your time with me.